Over 200 experts have shared their secrets to a successful business. Join me, Rose Davidson, as I discover how these experts took their businesses to the next level.
Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. Talking about all things business by business owners for business owners. Episode 237 with Fiona Robertson.
You feel what it's going to feel like. Oh God, my publisher is going to be like a best friend. We're really going to hit it off. They're really going to really understand everything that I'm presenting here, and then I'm not going to have to, they're not going to have to second guess me, and they're not going to be off on a different tangent. So your soul will orchestrate someone, and bring someone to you that is exactly a good fit for what you're looking for, because they're also looking for someone like you, using a publisher as an example. When you communicate with your soul and show them exactly what it is that you want. So getting clear on what you want is a really big part of all of that.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business leaders for business leaders, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platform and on YouTube. And my name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. I'm your host today, and my guest is Fiona Robertson. And we are going to be talking about your soul's purpose in life and in business. Welcome, Fiona, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me, Rose. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, so tell me why you've been stalking me first.
Well, we're in a similar group for business mums, and I love the energy in there, and I love meeting the people, and I love talking to Australia because it's one of my favourite countries. If I could have, I would have settled in Australia, but my soul brought me to France, living in a village that 600 witches were drowned and burnt in the 1600s. And then after, with past life regression, I realised, okay, I know why I'm here now. So it was like all soul intervention. Like, I stopped my business in the UK, went traveling around the world, and but I heard so many stories on the similar group that we were in.
Okay, and it's a nice group to be in too, let me tell you. But your main purpose is to help women over 50s, find what their soul's mission is, whether it be in life or whether it be in business, because as you and I both know, once we hit your 50s, it's not necessarily downhill, but you've been a mum, you've been a wife, you've done your work, and perhaps you're still working, but you haven't found your soul's purpose yet. So, and this is where you come in. So if you could just explain, please, how you do that and why.
Oh gosh, that is a big question. Why do I do it? Because we're driven as women, and it's like, oh well, I've been a mum, I've run a business, I've lived here, I've moved here, but you know that there's something deeper going on behind the surface. You know that you're driven to do something. It's not like maybe some of your friends are thinking about retiring. It's just like, nah, that's a bit boring, And it's like, when do I get my turn? When are my kids old enough that I can really get on with this? And there's a driving force behind it. And I do readings for women, which I didn't realize I did, but I listened to the soul, and I realized I've done that when I did the body whispering thing to do with weight and symptoms. But I listen to the soul of their business now, and it's always coming through that your business is bigger than you. You're here for a reason, and you are the perfect person to speak to the people who've been through the same as what you've been through. And you're the best voice, and it needs to be a friendly, open, somebody who understands it, and it's not a pushy thing when it comes from your soul. It's just people just resonate and get you. And I do that with, first of all, reading into somebody's business to find out what the soul of the business has to say to its owner, in other words, you, because you are entwined. It wasn't by chance that you picked up this particular desire and thrust in life to sort of get this message out there. And I help them. I'm not coaching in the standard form, but I help them understand and listen for themselves what their soul clients are asking for. So I'll take them on a journey in a place where we're able to ask like a specific ream of questions to meet the soul of their clients, to meet their clients on spirit level, in soul. So we sort of like go through the veil and we sort of speak to them there and ask them, what is it exactly that you're looking for? Why would you choose me and not someone else? What would it feel like when you get that? What's your long-term goal? What's your short-term goal? And the soul is actually giving you very specific answers back. And it could be coming through in images, it could be coming through in words. But that's when you know that it's not what you thought it was.
Yes, and things aren't always what we think they are anyway. And I found that now that I'm on the other side of 60, that things seem to be less and less like I thought they were. And I've been able to actually do some work on myself, some inner work on myself, to bring out the person that I used to be all those years ago before I became a nobody. I mean, I'm not saying that, being someone's wife and someone's mother is a nobody, but you lose yourself, you lose your identity, I think. And then when your kids are, flown the coop finally, and, you're an empty nester, then you wonder why what are you going to do with your life, because you've spent so much time caring for everybody else, and now it's time to look after yourself, and you've just forgotten how to do that. So, with what you do and how you coach people, how can you help them to get back to where they know that they've got this purpose?
It's such a beautiful journey when somebody kind of goes, oh my God, I'm able to stand in the room with that person who has bugged me for years and feel phenomenally strong. And I don't feel judged, and I don't feel rejected or anything, because I'm just internally really, really strong. And they go out dancing and they go singing and they find all the things that really feed their soul. All the things like you just mentioned that we lose when we become a mother and a partner, because we're so intent on, making other people happy. It just seems to be the women's way of doing things. And we don't look for pleasure for ourselves. So all of a sudden you're in this place and you're looking for things that, what do you respect? What do you value? What are all the things? Where are you? Let's just unzip you and get rid of everything else that's going on. And let's find you and what makes you tick. And what I'm finding is, women make so many different choices for themselves. And when you find your soul and what you really, really love in life, and you go for it, you put your soul's needs first. In other words, who you were right in the beginning when you were a little girl, doing all the kind of stuff, all the wild, crazy, rebellious stuff that you love to do, and speaking your mind, expressing yourself. There is an inner strength. But I'm finding that when women are in this zone, it's like the best immunity booster ever. They look younger, they look fitter, they look healthier. They can turn and create their relationships around into something way better. This is being in what I call the creator zone. So in other words, you don't take for granted what's going on. You don't sit back and kind of go, well, that's my lot. It's like, what do I want? What do I want instead? Who am I? What makes me tick? What makes me laugh, And what are all the things on my bucket list? You remember that film, The Bucket List? It's like, what are all the things that would really, I have to do that before I die. And some of those things are like really, running a really successful business. And this power of this woman comes out, and it's just phenomenal to see and she starts talking with her hands, and I can just see that the inner core of her is just on purpose, true to herself, and she's doing what she absolutely loves, and she morphs and she's creating all over the place. Like instead of complaining about her husband, she'll tell a different story about him, which is kind of funny. So instead of kind of saying, oh, I feel neglected, I feel unappreciated, doesn't see what I do, she's the only one who can change it. And I've done this so many times for myself. And I did it with my son and other things, like, oh, wow, he's such a generous man. He so adores me. Everything's working out really well. I absolutely love the way he looks at me. He's taking me out for dinner. It's a playful way to be in, and you're creating something. And I tell you something that's amazing. Only takes one person to change a situation around. And using the husband as the example, or the son or the child, is just like, oh, wow, within a week, because I feel differently about them, they're acting differently towards me. And you can do this with your business, and you can do this with your body, and you can do this with your beloveds. And it's working with spirit, working with your soul.
Yes, and sometimes I think we often forget that we do have a soul, and because we're so busy with everything else, and even in business, you're thriving to get your first 10K week or your first 10K month, and you keep working and working, and you just tend to forget that you need to replenish the inside, the inner you, before you can project it out and keep everyone around you happy, and you will find your success if you do the inner work first. Because I think you have to love yourself on the inside before you can love yourself on the outside.
Most absolutely. Even looking in the mirror in your eyes in the morning and sort of telling yourself that you love you is such a one of a great practice. And what I often find with the ladies that I'm working with, these 50-something women who have got such determination, they've got a message to bring. Maybe the families or their partners don't get what they're doing. And so you really, really have to love yourself and to be that strong inner person, because that that's what's driving you. Even if somebody says, oh, why don't you stop? Why don't you retire? Or why don't you get a proper job? That that there's absolutely no choice. And when you're in communication with yourself, with your soul, you can ask for help, and you kind of say, hey, I don't know how to do this, but you do. So please show me how. And if you have a very clear vision and focus, so in other words, your soul is always looking for what you're focusing on. And if you're chaotically focusing, like, oh, I've got to sort that out, and I've got to sort this out, and oh, I need to sort that out, then I've got to do this. You're taking all the responsibility for yourself. Your soul is like, oh, what do you want me to do? But if you ask a direct question, just like, where are my clients? What's my next step? How do I find that publisher that really, really gets my book? And when you feel into the person that you want to work with, or the person you want to be in a relationship with, you feel what it's going to feel like. Oh God, my publisher is going to be like a best friend. We're really going to hit it off. They're really going to really understand everything that I'm presenting here, and then I'm not going to have to, they're not going to have to second guess me, and they're not going to be off on a different tangent. So your soul will orchestrate someone and bring someone to you that is exactly a good fit for what you're looking for, because they're also looking for someone like you, using a publisher as an example. When you communicate with your soul and show them exactly what it is that you want. So getting clear on what you want is a really big part of all of that.
So have you got some technique that perhaps that you could share or would share with us, how that women can go about finding their soul?
Goody. To find your soul means also that you have to sort of step out of your way a little bit, if you understand what I mean by that, because we've been doing things in a certain way. We've been educating ourselves, we've been learning new tricks, we've been doing all sorts of things. But when the soul comes through, it's like you're almost handing over the reins to her. So you have to be able to step out of the way, your overthinking mind. So one of the things that I do is help ladies feel really, really safe. Because if you don't feel really, really safe, then you're not going to step out of the way for anyone. You're going to keep control, and you're going to keep plodding it away, and you're going to keep doing what you've always done. But if you're handing the reins over to someone else, if you think about any relationship, you have to trust them, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Before you do that, you want verification, you want to know. So one of the first things would be just start asking for signs and looking for signs that your soul is there. So if you say, look, I really like your help. And I do something very funny, and because I've been talking to my soul for a while, even if I'm sewing something and I have to sew my kids' trousers or something, I'm just like, are you kidding me? It's dark, it's black, the thread is black. You really expect me to see that? And I'm like, oh, hang on a second. I've tried to thread this needle. I couldn't tell you how many times. You can see this. I can't see this. You know how to do this. Please show me how. Please do it for me. So you get the thread ready, then I get the needle ready. It's like, I trust you. You're going to be able to put this through in the first go. And invariably, when I'm totally trusting, that's what happens. So I'm always showing ladies how they can trust their soul and how they have had support all the way through. So there's lots of different experiences I'm showing you, like how you can actually trust that your soul always looked after you. You always had clothes on your back. You always had food on the table, even when you went through the darkest night of the soul. You always had support when you have health issues. Can you see that was your soul trying to communicate with you, just to say there's something way better for you? Just let go a little bit and let me. There's a conversation that I do as well. So you're imagining that you're in a new relationship with somebody, or you've been in a relationship with somebody and you're not totally trusting them. So maybe you can imagine that your soul is in your left hand, and your ego mind, or your old self, your personality, your character, is in your other hand. So the soul is saying, hey, I know how to do this. Give me a chance, give me something to work on, because I can really help you out. You don't need to think about everything so much. And the mind's going, are you kidding me? I've always done it this way. And who are you to sort of take over control? So you can see that it's like an old married couple or something. Like, this one's always done things his way or their way. You can look at it as the male energy and the female energy if you want as well. So he's saying, there's nothing you can do that I can't do. I've always done this, and I've always done it this way, and it's always kind of worked. And the soul's saying, but you don't need to think about everything so much. I could give you some direct responses. I could give you like innovative ideas. I could give you, what are you looking for? And I'll be able to find it, like female intuition, female gut instincts. You know when character's right. You can trust someone. Do you remember that person that, you asked, like, could we trust this person? And I gave you the gut instinct of like, run, don't trust that person. Or when you were looking for a new partner in your firm, and I just showed you can trust them implicitly. This is the kind of stuff that I'm really, really good at. So give me a chance. But I've always done things this way. I don't understand how you can help me. How can you help me? There's nothing you can do there's nothing I can't do. And the soul's coming back and saying, okay, I admit you are far better at logic. You are far better at sorting things out, financings, crunching the numbers, plodding along. But I've got so many different ideas. It would be far easier. You could work part-time and earn twice as much if you took on some of these ideas. So the guy or the male or the ego mind is kind of going, well, there is one issue that's just, it's baffling me. I just can't get to the bottom of it. I can't work it out. Don't know whether to go that way or not. And so I was like, oh, give it to me. I'll sort that out. It would be fun for me. Like if it doesn't break the bank or doesn't, make us die or anything, it's like, okay, give it to me. I'll sort that out. We'll use our female intuition and we'll get there. We go, okay, well, fine. I'll pass that over. So they pass over, and then all of a sudden they start working a little bit closer together. And there's so many different instances of that. So, the soul sorts something out. Your female intuition sorts something out. It's like, well, yeah, well, that was a fluke. That was lucky. So, well, there's so many other ways that I can help you. And this conversation just carries on and carries on and carries on. And eventually the trust is built up. And the ego mind kind of goes, when it's reminded, I see now that I got that sciatica because of the way I was thinking. I see that now. And as soon as we changed the story, that changed. And I see now, as soon as I had different thoughts about my company, my business, how much I could earn, when I imagined what it could be like, when I played with it a little bit more, it got so much more light and easy and free. And this is the soul working with, and it's always a negotiation. It's always a conversation waiting to be had. And then you're starting to feel safer to let go of the reins a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more.
Then they're one.
Well, exactly, because most of us, you know, when we talk about spirituality, we're thinking about outside guides or outside angels or outside gurus or outside whatever. And it's not until you realize, like, oh, I thought that. So what if your intuition and what if your soul is the voice inside your head anyway? And it's giving you information and it's giving you answers and it's helping you along. And it's not separate from you, but it's just getting to trust it and getting to understand that it's there 180% for you.
Yeah, just trust the process.
Trust the process, but what I find is if you're asking the question, any question, but if you're wording it correctly, it's like it can't help but bring you the answers. And I've seen things come in songs for me. You know, like when you hear a song in the morning and you can't get it out of your head, and then all of a sudden it's like, what is that song? And then you look at the lyrics and you read the lyrics and you think, oh my word, that is exactly what I needed to hear. It's answering my question. Or you see in a film, you're watching a film and you've got a question in the back of your head and you're saying, I'd really like to get the answer in this film to this question. So you're specific. But somewhere in that film, it would be like someone is talking to you and you'll hear it and you'll go, oh, that's just what I've been waiting for. That answers my question. I know how to do that now. So it's not always that it's coming through an email or a text message or something like that. It's like, how many different ways can, you know, the soul deliver the message to you? And it can come up in a conversation. So you and I could be having a banter, a conversation, and you'll say something and you think, that was exactly what I needed to hear. I know that now. Or you'll get something come in your mind. You think, oh, I've got an idea now. I've got a new idea.
Yes, I've got to listen. It's like, we don't often do that. We call it the universe, call it divine intervention, whatever it is. But there's something out there, I know, that, you know, helps us and guides us along it. But you're right, and you need to ask the right questions. And, you know, you can't say, I want something. You have to just, you have to ask. And sometimes you have to invite it in so that that they can hear you and do the right things. But yes, one day these things, everyone will be looking for their soul's purpose. And then when they find it, the world will be a beautiful place.
Well, I understand that. I believe that 100%. And our children's children, I think maybe you know that already, that they will live in a completely different world than we live in now. They will be more evolved than us. And each generation, if you think about the way that your parents looked at things and the way that their parents looked at things, our perceptions are changing. And when you have your soul's purpose, you know why you're here. You just, oh, that's okay, that's easy. And if there's something that comes up, if there's a challenge that you don't want to go somewhere, you don't want to do something, you can create it in a different way with your soul. So like if I was going to a long lunch and all my, you know, partner's family speak French or something like that, I'll be thinking, potentially that is a really long afternoon. So I would kind of say, wouldn't it be fun if I had a conversation with somebody and we could talk about the garden, or we could talk about plants, or we could talk about the kids, or we could talk about something, but it would be easier for me in a one-to-one. It'd be easier if they asked me about, what is it that you do, Fiona? Or so you create it, you put it out there as to what it is that you would like to experience instead.
I agree. So Fiona, where can people find you if they want to work with you?
I have a website which is due for updating, but it's all about being a body whisperer, which is something similar to being, you know, listening to the soul in the body. It's FionaRobertson.co. So my website is FionaRobertson.co.
Beautiful.
And I've got my programs and I've got bits of information and the retreats that I do, because I help women detox for their detox.
Right. And have you got any books you'd like to promote?
I'm in the process of finishing a book at the moment, which is You Create Your Own Reality. And I will be looking for people shortly to sort of do reviews of that as well. And it's a book that's been given to me about all of this, and it came through via my soul. So it was like something that they wanted to be written. So that's coming up.
Wow, can't wait. Sounds like it could be interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share today?
I don't really see how people can live an easy, fun life without being connected to their soul these days. Life is just too hard unless you're taking some of the information, it's just some of the pressure off. And that for me is being connected to your soul.
Yeah. Yes, agree. All right, Fiona, thank you so much for your time today, and I will talk to you again very soon.
Rose, thank you so much for having me and letting me talk about our soul.
Oh, soul. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Talking with the experts.